Hi, I'm Brad Thomas here with Drew Dinsick, and welcome to Bet the Edge on Wednesday, December 21st. Thanks to everyone watching on the NBC Sports YouTube channel. Coming up, Drew and I will talk some PL, post-World Cup, key matchups in the NFL for Week 16, and of course, give our best bets. All that and more coming up on Bet the Edge. Drew, I've been really excited to ask you this question since we haven't had a chance to talk. Was this the best World Cup, the Qatar World Cup that you've seen in your lifetime?
Oh yeah, by margin. It was incredible. I think, I mean, it was historic seeing Messi win. It was historic seeing Argentina hoist the trophy. The final itself was basically just a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
And the whole thing was just incredible. The group stage, round 3 of the group stage, there's so many memorable matches, memorable moments. And then to cap it off with that final was just icing on the cake. Although I gotta tell you, man, it's definitely renewed my interest in club soccer. It was so great, kind of getting up early, watching matches all day. I'm gonna definitely, it's renewed my interest for sure. Can you help me sort of reset what's going on in the world of both the Premier League as well as maybe some of the other European heavyweights?
Yeah, no, this is it's pretty interesting because every World Cup, it kind of happens during Euros as well, where there's these players like Enzo who play so well and they start, piquing the interest of other clubs. Like Cody Gakpo is probably going to go for 75 million euro to United. Whoa. It's going to change the landscape of a lot of these teams. But also, it's also going to be one of those where this is just a stopping ground. So United might not be the last spot for a Gakpo, much like De Ligt going to Juventus, now to Bayern, which ultimately makes the rich clubs richer. For Premier League, the biggest loss and the biggest tree shaker, I would say, is Gabriel Jesus getting hurt and being down. While he might not have contributed as many goals as we thought early in the season, I do think I am a little more down on Arsenal without him. Nketiah is a great player, and I don't want to take anything from him. But I think Jesus, in the way he plays off the ball, makes them much more lethal than having Nketiah there. So I would probably, I can't honestly say I'm going to take minus 223 for Manchester City, but if there are people who are interested in parlaying futures, I would probably parlay Manchester City at minus 223 with Napoli or Bayern. So Napoli to win Serie A, Bayern to win Bundesliga, because just you think about what Arsenal have done so far at the start of the season has been great, but they haven't had to have a rigorous European schedule in a long time. Now losing another quality player, how are they going to survive when Europa heats up? And I know a lot of people are going to say Europa doesn't matter, but yes, those matches matter for the finances if you want to sign players in the offseason, in the transfer windows. So I'd probably find a way to bet Manchester City. You have to parlay it. Like I couldn't realistically say you take minus 223, but what they have they're down 5 points. I think they make that up pretty easily, especially when you start to look at the advanced metrics and how the advanced metrics are kind of pointing to the direction that there will be some regression set on Arsenal.
Very cool. Well, any chance that Arsenal fall out of the top 4 within the absence of Jesus?
I don't think so. Because what Arteta did to this team that was really important to me was he made them believe. Last season, they lost the top 4 on the final 2 days of the season. But a lot of that really was just because of the mentality that they had going into it. They were afraid to not make mistakes. When you go out there and you play fearless like they do, it's hard to lose matches. They're going to get points while they can. So I'd back them in the top 4. One top 4 bet that I was surprising to see this price would be Newcastle plus 135. I know it's a lot to ask of Newcastle, but if you look at the advanced metrics, Newcastle either first and second in all of the important metrics. That's expected goals allowed. That's expected goals per 90 at home, which is really important because you want to get points every single time you're at home. And they lead the Premier League in clean sheets. So they got plus 135. They're not even a fully healthy or fit team, but they have guys like Almiron. Joe Linton's even playing great football. Bruno Guimaraes is playing great football. They have a talented team, and for them to be at plus 135, I can't believe I'm getting that price.
Well, very cool. I like that. I'll ride some Newcastle because that, they definitely, they don't have the pedigree of some of the other teams near the top of the board here, which makes, I think people expect if any team falls out, it would be them. But you make a great case. Plus 135. Let's go. They already got 30 points in pocket.
Yeah. What's crazy is Liverpool's minus 176 to finish top four. Liverpool have struggled defensively, and they're not getting younger on the defensive end. Like, I couldn't imagine paying minus 176 for a team who's what, almost 7 to 8 points out of the top four, 8 points, I think, out of the top four. I haven't been impressed. They're going to be able to score goals, but they miss Sadio Mane. Defensively, they're getting old. No offense to Virgil van Dijk, but he's not the Virgil van Dijk of 8 years ago. So I just couldn't justify that price. Is there anyone that you kind of had your eye on?
No, I was using this as an opportunity to pick your brain. I don't follow closely enough to say one way or the other, but I like all your points, and I'll ride a little bit of Newcastle. I like this.
Yeah, I had Newcastle to finish. I think it was top 8 preseason, and I was not expecting this Newcastle. I thought this was going to be a Newcastle that went out there and it was 1-1. A lot of 1-1 draws, and they just picked up points while they can. No, they're shutting teams out, and they're doing it impressively. So I like that there. One thing I want to say before we move over to the NFL is, you talked about the World Cup piquing your interest in club soccer, and I hope it did this to a lot of people who are watching, a lot of people around the world. FIFA is going to have a club World Cup, 32 teams, 32 of the best clubs, group style, similar to the Champions League. I think that this is an opportunity that's going to be fun to kind of boost soccer, boost football before we get the World Cup here in America, because I want to see something like, I want to see America have some Morocco success. Being the host country, America's never made it to the top 4. Man, that would just change. It would change everything. It would put us on the map. It would make people really believe.
I agree with you 100%.
Let's move over to the NFL. This is crazy. The weather in the NFL is absolutely nuts. We look at the Saints versus the Browns. The Browns total is 32, the lowest total since 2008. Wow. And I saw somewhere on Twitter, one of the super fans for the Cleveland Browns, Gab Gaudy, she wrote, we live in Ohio. She's a Browns fan. We live in Ohio, and we have these low cold weather games, yet they never help us out. And I feel like that remains true. Like, a lot of these cold weather teams don't do well in the cold, not like you would think they would, or like the Bills. The Bills, they're not built to run the ball 35, 60 times in a game. Do you think this total is too low and it's playable at 32 for the Browns Saints game?
No. I've been involved in games like this before. There's going to be 40 mile an hour wind gusts. There's going to be precipitation. The real feel on the field is going to be in the low teens. This is an absolute disaster of a game in terms of production and points. I have bet into low totals to the over, just because I didn't think the weather was going to be as impactful as people made it out, and I have absolutely lost my shirt on it. So I stay well away from these at this point. And I think, if you are inclined to play an over here, I think maybe just see how it plays out in the first half. You could realistically have like a 7-0 or a 0-0 halftime. The teams should slowly adapt to the conditions, and they may be more effective in the second half. So I think if you want to get involved with an over, you either jump in live or play it at halftime. I will not be one of those people, though.
No, I will not either. And, I love college football player props. Anything over 25 miles per hour wind, you start to automatically look at quarterback unders. This is going to be higher wind and colder weather. So I haven't seen what the books hang these numbers at. I think they're kind of waiting a little bit. I'm going to be on some quarterback unders, because we're going to be seeing stat lines of like 10 completed passes on maybe 15 attempts, and it's going to be screen passes. Like, it's going to be really short routes. So you can kind of lick your chops on that.
Yeah, low ADOT, not a lot of long field goals, a little bit of field position gamesmanship. Rather than attempting a 45-yarder, you're probably going to just try to pin your opponent deep in their own end zone. Field goal unders, longest field goal under, all that stuff is going to be fun to put in your pocket if you want to play some of the exotics.
Yeah, I remember when I was on the show with you, when it was the Rams, that was a bad weather game, and you took field goals under in the first half and absolutely smashed it. I only think they attempted one field goal because the weather was so bad. I was like, I tailed that, obviously. I was like, oh yeah. Oh no, it was on Battle of the Bets. I remember that. That was pretty sweet. That was pretty sweet. Well, guys, before we move into the next section, I want to invite you to download the Roto World app to receive breaking player news all season long. Stay ahead of the competition by favoriting your favorite players on your rosters. Get the latest injury updates, player news, and much more delivered right to your phone. It's available in the App Store today. So let's talk some more Week 16 matchups. This one kind of was a head scratcher for me. Lions at the Panthers. Lions -2.5. And I think it was a head scratcher to me because the money coming on the Panthers.
Yeah.
Is the Lions run over? I mean, they started the season terrible, 1-6, but they won 6 of their last 7. Is their run of terror over?
I'm agreeing with you generally in the spirit of I was surprised Panthers money showed up here. And it wasn't even really people tickling Panthers. It was sincere opinion that this should be inside 3. That's kind of wild considering how Sam Darnold has played. Detroit defense is definitely playing more effectively. I think that last week there was a decent play against Goff in New York playing the Jets. Just I think the handicap was pretty straightforward. It was just, hey, let's fade this guy with tiny hands in terrible conditions. That may be what's happening here again. It's going to be similar, not anywhere close to Cleveland, but there's going to be double-digit winds, 20-mile-an-hour gusts, and the temperature is going to be, kind of in the high 20s. So that may be what's going on, because I certainly haven't seen anything out of Carolina that suggests they can find some form in this match to match what we're seeing from Detroit right now. Detroit's playing like a top 4 offense. And again, their defense is getting substantially better, particularly when they get to go up against, below average quarterbacks. So Detroit or pass here for me. And I think as this gets closer, if it looks like the weather's not going to be too bad, I would expect you see this go back to 3.
Yeah. I think for me, it's Lions or pass. And one thing that I was confused about was how is Sam Darnold going to handle the pressure? Like Aiden Hutchinson, since his first week in the NFL, where he kind of was getting acclimated to the speed and the size, has been on an absolute tear. And that's what's really been propelling their defense, has been the defensive line play. And Sam Darnold, he strikes me as a quarterback who's the deer in the headlights when pressure comes towards him.
Yeah, that's right. And I think the specialty pass rush that they're getting from Houston on top of Hutchinson kind of figuring out his role has absolutely elevated that team. Yeah, no,
I do. Let's move over to Giants at Vikings. Vikings a 3.5-point favorite. Total set at 48. We're playing indoors here, so we don't have to worry about the weather. First, let's talk about these were 2 of the craziest games of the week that each team played in. The Vikings mounting that massive comeback, and I'm sitting on the cruise ship trying to get cell phone service to try to bet Vikings plus 700, because you can absolutely tell the collapse is coming. And then on the other side, you have the Giants involved in 2 of the most controversial calls in football this season, with the offsides and with the no call on the pass interference. I think this line is it feels a little low to me. I know the Giants snapped that 4-game winless streak, but I just haven't been impressed with the Giants since probably week 6, maybe 7. And that's kind of when the injuries started mounting up and people started figuring out that Brian Daboll does a lot of gadget plays, a lot of window dressing in his play calling. And I think teams are starting to wise up to that. Do you have a thought on this game?
Yeah, I had the same thought seeing this open at around 3.5, 4. It looked surprisingly low. I think that to a degree there is a potential motivational letdown here for Vikings having clinched the NFC North, particularly in that fashion. The Giants are extremely well coached. You're right; they get it done with unsustainable offense, surely. But they do have Saquon Barkley, who is kind of regained some of his pop. He's had an amazing season, just an incredible bounce back from him. Yeah. And I would expect that, he's a factor in this game. The total looks a little high to me at 48. I know you're talking about one of the, elite players in the NFL and Justin Jefferson and, solid chemistry right now with Kirk Cousins on the other side of the ball against really a poor secondary for the Giants. But again, with the idea that this could be a little bit of a motivational low here for Minnesota, I think this is Giants or pass, under or pass.
I was thinking if I were to play this game, I'd probably look at Vikings team total over. I just think that the Giants are going to do so much to make sure they're doubling, they're playing bracket coverage on Justin Jefferson. It's kind of make life easier for the guys who stepped up You think Adam Thielen's had a big game last game. Osborne. Now Osborne's shown that he can be a it factor in offense. Those kind of games where you come back from 30 whatever points it is kind of give you fuel. But I'm not ready to trust their defense even against this New York offense, who on paper statistically don't prove to be a team that can move the ball.
Yeah, I agree with your take on the Vikings, but I think you have to get a clean bill of health on Christian Darrisaw. He matters so much for them at left tackle, and he came out of that game late a couple of times as he was trying to play through injury against the Colts. So if he gets the week off because they're trying to rest him up for the playoffs, then all of a sudden, this is going to be a kind of a low-scoring affair, I think. Yeah,
this is an interesting time for handicapping NFL. Like, I don't lock bets in probably until Friday at the earliest because most of these injury reports are BS. Like, guys don't practice because they're giving their guys rest. You look at that Eagles team. No one practiced for the Eagles yesterday. Like, of course not. Why would they? The Eagles need to rest their guys, make sure they're healthy for the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah, they fascinated by that game as well. But some of these teams that have their playoff seeding roughly locked up, you're going to start to see them, bringing a little bit different level of motivation to some of these games.
Yeah, it's going to be what do these wins mean to these teams? Like some teams, they don't care about being number 2 seed. They want to be healthy. They lock up home field advantage. They're happy and they're content. Or if it's a game they know they can win, like I think the Vikings come into this hosting the Giants and they know they can win this game. It's not something they might need to sell out for.
Yeah, agreed.
This is another game that I was actually really interested in. I'm gonna either tease this game or bet it. I haven't decided yet, and this is Bengals -3.5 at the New England Patriots. Total set at 41.5. The line opened at 3.5, stayed at 3.5, but the total has actually risen by 2 points. The Bengals, man, the Bengals continue to cash tickets. I was on Bengals -3.5 last week. As a Tampa Bay Bucks fan, I was a little like, man, I'm not hedging my happiness, but I'm pretty happy that the Bucks were up 17-0. But then the Bengals did what the Bengals do, and they find ways to win. That was probably one of the worst Joe Burrow performances in terms of decision making that we possibly could have seen. But they won. Not only they won, they covered the spread. Now they play against the Patriots team, who's number 2 in defensive DVOA, but I think their offense is like 25th in offensive DVOA. Matt Patricia and Mac Jones constantly going back and forth to each other because their offense is not clicking on cylinders. Damon Harris, he returned to practice, but still limited. Stevenson, a little banged up. Man, I don't know what to make of this game. I feel like I'm jumping into some scary waters because I know this will probably be one of the top public bets of the weekend. But how do you not bet a team who's covered in 10 straight games?
So my general read is that the Patriots are not very good, but they do this is kind of a kitchen sink game for them, back against the wall. Every kind of wrinkle you have in your playbook, everything that you can do to really, get some, make up some ground for the wild card race, you got to absolutely come out of this game with the win. So you leave it all on the field. In that kind of context, you could see New England get out to a decent lead here. Most of the market is moving to a flat 3. People are believing in this Patriots team, despite all of the signal that says they're not very good. And, with the total going up, I think you can conclude that means people think the Patriots are going to score here. I would only consider Patriots first half in this one. The Cincinnati Bengals are so unbelievably good at tweaking their defense in the second half that the Patriots, even if they had say a 17-7 kind of a lead at halftime, I would still back the Bengals to get the win. And I would back, team total under for the Patriots. So that's the general rule that I'm operating under for any Cincinnati Bengals game. And I think this is probably maybe the most perfect example of when to try to employ that strategy.
Okay. So would you consider buying the Patriots up? I mean, you buy them all the way and it doesn't land on a perfect 10. So kind of crappy. You'd want to hope more money comes on Bengals, I guess. And there's no way I would tease to 9.5. That's just not in my betting card. So I guess it'd probably be a stay away if I wanted to tease the Patriots. And you don't tease totals. This is a compelling game. Very compelling.
I'm going to play Patriots first half money line, and when that cashes, roll that into Cincinnati second half.
Okay. I'm probably gonna play Mac Jones passing under.
I like
the Bengals haven't had a 300-yard quarterback all season. I don't think Brady threw for 300. I didn't. What the hardest part about watching games on a cruise with no cell service is you don't get a chance to see the stat lines afterwards. So like I had no chance to see the stat lines, and I literally just got off the ship, turned on my computer, and did this. So I'm excited to see what that happens in that game. Could you imagine if you did a game double where you did Pats first half and Cincinnati full game? I'd imagine that price has to be like plus 450.
I bet you, yeah, it's going to be a big number. I'm going to look that up. Brady did just squeeze out over 300 last week, but it wasn't pretty. It was not pretty.
Okay, so I think he's either the first or second quarterback to go over 300.
Yeah, a lot of that was garbage yards in that last drive.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go to Commanders at 49ers. 49ers is a 7-point favorite. Total set at 39.5. And man, we've seen a little movement down 1 point on the total, but nothing on the spread. I think that this is a tough game for the Commanders. Traveling on the road across country, taking on the 49ers, whose defense is very legit. And one thing that I've talked about this, plenty of times, where when you build a defensive line that knows how to get after the quarterback, it's hard to play from behind. And I think the 49ers are going to have the lead in this game for a good majority of the time, which means the Commanders are going to have to drop back. If you look at PFF's offensive line ratings, Commanders have one of the worst in the NFL. I don't care how mobile Taylor Heinicke wants to be. I think that Armstead, Bosa, they're going to be pinning their ears back when they have a lead. I think 7 is more than coverable. I think they could win this game 25 plus.
Oh, wow. That's a big number. I think it's definitely possible. The idea that the Commanders are going to find success against this Niners defense, which is playing as the best unit currently in the NFL. I take exception to that. They have had a relatively soft road. Their last 2 games were against the Giants. Before that, they played the Falcons and the Texans. So if you want to try to even capture what's happened in those 4 games, they're not even great results. They're not blowing teams. They're not putting up especially impressive yardage totals, and they're not being especially efficient in the red zone. I think realistically, Taylor Heinicke is very, very loose with the football. He creates an absolute disproportionately significant amount of turnover-worthy plays. And the Niners they have ball hawks like Hufanga in that secondary that are going to make him pay the price. So I think Niners getting some defensive takeaways and some, just in general, some chaos, some sacks, all that seems realistic. Nick Bosa, this is sort of his opportunity to, continue to create distance in the defensive player of the year market. We talked about it yesterday. He's now the favorite. And I think that's just mostly in deference to how great this Niners defense is overall. So I like your idea of, if you're going to bet this game, to just go bananas on some of the alt spreads as opposed to just laying the 7. Because if our theory is correct, if Brock Purdy continues to play poised, and if the defense is giving him short fields and or defensive scores, then this could get ugly quick.
Yeah, no, Brock Purdy has played well. And listen, last week I got kind of owned. I parlayed Geno Smith INT with Bosa sack, and the INT didn't end up counting. But I'm going to play that. I'm going to end up playing that again. Nick Bosa's sack price is going to be around -210. The INT is probably, I think it's about minus. I don't have a fair price on that yet. I'd have to think, because I think if Ward plays, we're probably going to see a -160. If Ward doesn't play, then I think it's going to be closer to like minus, I say 150. He's worth 10 cents of value there because he's going to be one covering Terry McLaurin, and that's going to be the number 1 target for Heinicke to throw. So I'd probably play that, be a good parlay piece. I think we see that. I just can't imagine you target Scary Terry with Ward covering him all game and you don't throw a pick.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if you break down sort of the distribution of what Taylor Heinicke is doing with his passing, he is throwing a lot of turnover-worthy plays. They're not all converting to ints, but a team like the Niners is going to be able to take those away.
Absolutely. Well, just a reminder, if you don't have the NBC Sports Predictor app, go download it now. The contests are free and easy to play. And you have a shot to win thousands this weekend by predicting what will happen during bowl season and in the Premier League. There's also
Wow.
100,000 up for grabs by guessing the outcome between the Bucks and Cardinals in our Sunday Night 7 contest. Let's get into our best bets. Drew, start us off. I see you like a dog.
I do. I think the Packers are live heading down to the Dolphins. There is pretty obviously aspects about this matchup that favor Miami. People, I believe, have put way too much weight on the fact that the Dolphins had 3 straight road games and now they're at home. The idea of fatigue being a factor here is real in my mind, and I think that shadows into this game. It doesn't just, you don't get a hard reset of 3 very challenging weeks of travel. And, in particular, the way that that game played out on Saturday night in Buffalo, like they left it all on the field and they didn't get the win. So Dolphins, I think, come in, could be a little bit out of sorts to start the game just because of the fatigue. And the Packers, on the other hand, they're not in control of their own destiny for a playoff spot, but they 100% are playing right now with an offensive vigor that is significantly better than what we saw out of these guys in the first part of the year. Some of that is, of course, chemistry improving between Aaron Rodgers and his wide receiver. Some of it is probably Aaron Rodgers just in general getting healthier. He was dealing with that thumb injury for the first half of the season, really. The issue is maybe just how does Green Bay's defense get off the field with that dynamic set of wide receivers that Miami brings to the table. I'm going to play Packers money line, hope that they can get out to a lead, and then I may take a little bit off the table with just some sort of live play on the Dolphins, because they are built to come back. They are going to be able to just kind of make hay against the soft zone for the Packers.
I love fantasy football and I have Jalen Hurts. But I always, throughout the season, I look for good spots, good finishing schedules for the playoffs. I'm number 1 seed. Jalen Hurts goes down, but a few weeks ago, I grabbed Aaron Rodgers just in case Jalen Hurts is down for my first round of the playoffs. I'd have Aaron Rodgers against this 26th ranked secondary of the Miami Dolphins. So I just want to see a ton of points here. I want to see like massive stat lines by both guys. Packers are finally getting healthy. Aaron Rodgers healthy. Dobbs is back. Christian Watson playing excellent football. So anytime I see a shootout, I kind of see like whoever has the ball last is going to cover the spread. Let's talk about my game.
Yeah, that's a fair read, man.
Yeah, let's talk about my game. I did say this is going to be my best bet. Bengals -3.5 at Patriots. We talked about this so much. I don't think that the Patriots' abysmal offense is going to do enough to stay in this game. The Patriots are going to need like massive weather advantage, which people forget. Like the way the Bengals play football, they think about Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and all that. They don't get a lot of push from their offensive line to run the ball. They're still a northern team in Ohio, used to the cold weather. I'm not worried about this cold weather advantage that people are going to talk about. I like the Bengals here. 3.5 is still kind of fun to me. I think this line moves a lot. Johnny VTV, thank you for the note. He reminded us that the Bengals last week were the highest bet public team, and it's for good reason. The Bengals scheme so well against bad offenses. I'm shocked the Bucs went out to that early lead, but the Bucs looked like the best Bucs team that they have been all season. I don't see that coming from the Patriots. I think this is going to be one of those situations where the Patriots are going to have to bring in an offensive coordinator. I just don't see Matt Patricia calling these plays. No quarterback wants to continuously throw these check down routes, these screen passes. It's just not fun playing quarterback, especially when you're not winning games.
Yeah, that's completely fair. All I will tell you is don't lose hope. If the Patriots are taking an early lead in this one, Cincinnati will come back and get it done for you, I believe. And just in general, the fact that you can get a 3 now instead of having to lay 3.5, that's pretty solid.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I say this, that anytime the Patriots have a lead this season, you could probably bet the other team. That absolute meltdown by Jacoby Myers trying to pass the ball back to your immobile quarterback proved that. They struggled against Las Vegas. That's all I need to say on that game, Drew. This was fun, man. I hope you feel better. Thanks for taking the time to do this together. And guys, don't forget to check out NBCSportsEdge.com for more information to help you with your wagers. Thanks to those watching us on the NBC Sports YouTube channel. And if you're listening in podcast form, don't forget to subscribe and rate us. Take care.